What if humanity once knew everything, and someone made sure we forgot? For centuries, we've been told a comforting story. That the Great Library of Alexandria was a tragic accident. A casualty of war, a victim of chaos, but history rarely loses knowledge by accident. Because this library didn't just contain books, it contained the collected intelligence of the ancient world: science, astronomy, medicine, engineering, philosophy. And when it vanished, humanity didn't just lose scrolls. We lost centuries of progress. Tonight, we uncover the dark truth behind the most important library ever destroyed and why its loss may still shape your life today. Founded around the 3rd century BCE in Egypt, the Great Library of Alexandria was not a library in the modern sense. It was a global intelligence center. Ships entering the harbor were systematically searched. Any books found were confiscated, copied, and archived. The originals were often kept, the copies returned. This was a place hungry for information. At its peak, the library may have held over 400,000 scrolls, a staggering collection for the ancient world. Scholars from Greece, Africa, Persia, India, and the Middle East worked together here, sharing, debating, and creating. For the first time in history, the world's knowledge was centralized. And that made it powerful, and power always creates enemies. The surviving references suggest the library held knowledge far ahead of its time. We're talking about accurate measurements of the Earth's circumference, calculated with astonishing precision. Early theories of heliocentrism, proposing that the Sun, not the Earth, was the center of our solar system, a concept that wouldn't be accepted for another 1,500 years. There were texts on advanced geometry and mechanics, medical documents describing complex surgery and human anatomy, and lost philosophies that challenged the authority of gods, kings, and empires. Some ancient writers even hinted at technologies we can't verify today, lost marvels of engineering and science. Which raises a disturbing question: was humanity once closer to modern science than we are comfortable admitting? Because now we face the question everyone avoids: who destroyed the library and why? Most people are told a simple story. Julius Caesar burned the library during his war in Alexandria in 48 BCE, but that's too simple. Historians largely agree this event, while damaging, cannot explain the library's total disappearance. The library survived Caesar. It survived multiple wars. It was rebuilt, reorganized, and reopened. The truth is darker and far more insidious. The Great Library didn't die in a single, fiery moment. It was dismantled over centuries. Piece by piece, scroll by scroll, idea by idea. This was not a quick death, it was a slow, deliberate execution of knowledge. And the reason may terrify you. As empires rose and fell, the nature of power changed. New rulers and emerging ideologies didn't just fear armies, they feared ideas. Some of the texts housed in Alexandria directly challenged religious authority, political legitimacy, and the very concept of divine kingship. Knowledge that empowers individuals inherently weakens centralized control. By the 4th century CE, influential religious leaders openly condemned the library's contents as dangerous and pagan. Philosophy was labeled heresy. Science was framed as human arrogance against the divine. Independent thought, the very foundation of the library, became a threat to the New World Order. And so, the library's protection, once a point of pride for rulers, quietly disappeared. But the most disturbing part is what may have been intentionally removed. Thousands of ancient works are known to us only by their names. These are books we see referenced in other surviving texts, but we can't actually read them. They are ghosts in the historical record. Lost works include complete histories of early civilizations, which would fill huge gaps in our understanding of the past. There were scientific treatises that almost certainly predate much later discoveries, philosophies that were so challenging, they were systematically erased from cultural memory. Imagine discovering the principles of electricity, only to have the instructions deliberately destroyed. Human progress didn't just slow down, it stalled. Not because humans were incapable, but because the foundational knowledge they needed had vanished. After the library's final decline, Europe entered centuries of relative stagnation, often called the Dark Ages. Scientific advancement slowed to a crawl, critical thinking narrowed. Knowledge became fragmented, scattered, and often suppressed. When progress finally reignited during the Renaissance, what were scholars doing? They were rediscovering ideas in astronomy, medicine, and philosophy that had already been known and studied in Alexandria centuries earlier. This means history didn't simply move forward, it had to restart. It had to painstakingly piece itself back together from the surviving fragments of a once great whole. We didn't just stumble, we were pushed back to the starting line. So we must ask the uncomfortable question: did humanity lose the library? Or was it allowed to die? Was it destroyed by a series of unfortunate accidents? Or was its decline a calculated move by those who saw its existence as a threat? Because centralized knowledge challenges centralized power. And history teaches us that power rarely forgets a threat. The destruction of the library wasn't just the loss of scrolls. It was a strategic move to control the future by controlling the past. Some historians believe that fragments of Alexandrian knowledge did survive hidden away in remote monasteries, encoded into myths and legends, or quietly rediscovered centuries later under new names. Which means the greatest loss in history may not be fully lost, just buried. And that leads to the most dangerous question of all. What knowledge today would they want us to forget next? Because history doesn't just erase the past, it edits the future.